So we are going to start learning about our skull project today. First off, when we begin any project, we must wedge our clay. You are getting half a pound of clay just for the cranium. So the cranium is this back part of the skull. So that's going to be half a pound of clay right there for us, okay? You will get additional clay, maybe an extra quarter to an extra half to build up the face and the facial features. You probably won't use all of that for the frontal part, but for the cranium, we're doing that half a pound of clay, okay? So, like I said, our first step with any project is to wedge the clay, to knead it, to make sure we don't have any air bubbles, to make sure we have consistent. Now, since our rattle is also going to double as a rattle, we're combining two projects. We need to make our beads to go inside our hollow form. So you'll take just a little bit of clay. I already have some out here drying. This would be too big. That's a very big bead. We want very small beads, so you just take them in between your fingers, roll them. They don't have to be perfect. They're just gonna act as the noise when we are working. All right? And I'll probably make about 10. These are too big, so those are gonna go in my scrap bucket. But I have my nice little section of beads over here drying out. And like I said, it's about 10 beads. 10 beads, okay? Then your next step, so your third step, is to create your 2 equal pinch pots. Now these are gonna be more like bowls. Okay, so we really shouldn't have like any flat bottoms or tops, because when we put these together, we want them to be spheres. Okay, we're going to shape them into spheres because that's going to be a good base for us to work with. Okay, so I already have these preformed. Okay, but I'm just going to check to make sure I don't have any thick or thin spots. Remember, you also need to make sure you have thick rims, so when we attach, it's easier to attach. Okay? All right, so I created my 2 equal pinch pots. I want to make sure I add my beads in before I attached. Okay, if I attach them before I add my beads in, then I'm in trouble, right? I might have to do brain surgery later, which I'll show you guys how to do. All right, so my beads are in. My beads are sitting in there, and I need to score my rims. So I'm attaching the rims, which is my 4th step. And having thick rims is really great, because if you had thin rims and try to score, it proves to be a little bit difficult. All right, and then I'm gonna spray water around mine because I don't have slip made just yet. So I scored, I slip, and now I'm going to weld. So I'm gonna press these two together. I wanna make sure they're gonna fit. And I'm gonna just apply a little bit of pressure to make sure that those rake marks that I made, those scoring marks that I made, are going into each other along with that slip. All right, cool. So then I can take my finger and I can start to weld. Just like the lidded container we just did. But this is always how you will make hollow forms. Taking 2 pinch pots and attaching them together. We're also trying to make this look seamless. So if you're blending and you're like, man, that seam's not going away, we could do our little trick that we learned last project. Rolling out a nice little coil and then using that as added support and strength. I just want to make sure that coil is going to go all the way around, which I think it is. Good job, Miss Sergeant. And I'm just going to score around that seam to make sure that my coil is going to stay there. I'm just going to do a little bit of scratching on the coil as well. All right, and then I'm going to start blending that in as well. Now I'm working pretty fast because I'm mindful of your time as well. But I'm also working fast because I have really hot hands. And if my hands are hot, I'm drying out the clay more, correct? So I'm working kind of fast to get this sphere done, to get it molded, so I don't have to worry about it later. And it's okay to push the clay around, that's fine. We're gonna do a lot of stuff to this little ball, so and then you can kind of pat it. You can roll it on the table. We're trying to get a really nice sphere. It's okay if it's not perfect. Sometimes our skulls are a little bit lumpy as well, and that's okay. I also can take a sponge and smooth it out, but I don't actually really need to do that quite yet. So I'm going to find a good spot on my sphere. I think this is going to be my front. So I'm just going to mark it a little bit. Just do like a little cross. So this is going to be my front. Now I need to build up the front spot of the skull. So I'm going to start building this up a little bit, but not the details, just the form. So if I was to break this down, this would be a sphere, and this would probably be like a square or a rectangle block. Okay, so I'm going to take some clay. I have my ball sitting right here. It's going to be facing me. I'm going to take about half, maybe a little bit more. And now I'm going to mold the jaw, but it's just going to be a square. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to add more clay to it as we build upon, but we're kind of shaping that lower jaw just a teeny bit. And then I'm actually going to press on that front so it kind of tapers. So it's thick here, tapers into the center. And then I think I need a little bit more clay for my jaw, so I'm going to push it out just a little bit. I'm going to add just a little bit more. It's okay to start off with more clay than you need. We can always take away. Sometimes it's harder to add, but we can also always add as well. Let's see. I need more clay. And for the front part, I didn't measure it, so you're just gonna have to eyeball it. But you also have your reference image, and you also have reference skulls in the classroom to look at as well to make sure you're getting those proportions correct. We're going for proportional and symmetry when we are creating our skulls. All right, that looks a little bit better to me. I can always press and adjust as I go as well. So I'm going to score the front of my skull. Okay, of my cranium. I'm also going to score the back of the piece that I just made. Score, 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 score. Apply my slip. And begin to attach on. Now, like I said, if it's not perfect, that's okay. We can always adjust it later and also through the process. So I'm just pushing that clay up. If you have too much extra clay and it's peeling off, you can always put it back into your little pile. So I'm just pushing the clay around a little bit. Smoothing it out. All right. So, sitting like this starts looking kind of like a skull, kind of having the shape of the skull. If I look from the side, okay, it starts looking like the skull a little bit at the side. Hold it up for you guys. Okay, so that's the basic shape when we're doing this first step. My final step in this process, you can keep smoothing it out and working with it, but you're also going to be adding clay to it, so don't do too much just yet, is that I need to divide the face and create guidelines. So if you ever took a drawing class, you do this when you're trying to get the proportions right on a face. So I'm going to divide the face. I'm going to draw a vertical line down the middle. It's okay if it's slightly off. You can always blend and readjust it. I like to use a needle tool for this, but you can also just use a regular pencil. And then I'm going to draw across where the eyes should be. So my eyes should be about right there. So it's across T. Okay, so center of the face and the face divided horizontally as well. So this is going to be your first step in the process. Second step, we will be adding details.